thing you have to keep in mind before you give up is that if you give up, the guarantee is it will never happen.
Keep pushing through it and you'll make it through the day.
No matter how bad things get, life is beautiful and things will always be better. Everything is worth it, guys.
Scared? Alone? Unsure of what's to come? This podcast is for our brothers and sisters who struggle with homelessness. Join us on this journey to improve our mental health, to challenge what's possible, to become who we are. Let's ignite hope one spark at a time and set our dreams on fire.
Welcome back to my Street Strong family. Today we are going to talk about asking for help and when it's time to change your tire. Before we begin, I encourage all of you to please reach out to me at streetstrongpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to be on the show, if you have ideas or recommendations, we'd love to hear from you. If you're out there and you're suffering from homelessness, if you're out there and you are in a homeless shelter, maybe best practices, recommendations, things that you think would help our community. Our community is expanding very quickly, and it's so exciting to welcome new folks in from all over the country and even the world. So again, big thanks to everyone. Today, we're going to talk about asking for help. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and fellow travelers on this journey called life, today I'm going to open up with a little story. Now, it's a story that may sound familiar to many of you because in one way or another, we've all been there. It's about a tire, a nail, and a little humility. More importantly, it's about recognizing when we need help and having the courage to ask for it. Now, I want to take you back to a hot summer day. We're talking 105 degrees plus in the desert of Las Vegas. I was leaving the Strip. The sun was blazing, the air was thick, and I was cruising in a silver Pontiac Solstice, thinking I was on top of the world, the top down, looking around at the cactus, going 80 miles an hour, having the time of my life. Had a great weekend. I was headed to work. I had just a few hours to spare, crossing through the desert for a 3-hour drive back to the hospital. Now, all of a sudden, I heard a pop, and luckily, I gained control of my car and swerved out into the shoulder safely, stopped my car, and lo and behold, there was a nail in my tire. Now, my friends, I only had $62 to my name. I'm not proud of that. At the time, I was even less proud of that. And if you know anything about blown tires, you'll know that $62 is not going to get you very far when you need a tire and a tow. I needed at least $200. And I felt deeply ashamed, and I was in a rush. I had to get to work. How was I going to explain this to my boss? How was I going to explain this to whoever it was that I would need to ask to get me back on the road and get me a new tire? Now, see, my Solstice didn't have room for a spare. I did not have a spare tire. Otherwise, I would have gotten out of the car and asked for help. But I didn't have a spare. I sat there pretty dazed and confused and embarrassed that I'd have to pick up the phone. And it wasn't that I'd have to ask for help that embarrassed me so much, but the fact that I had to admit that not only did I have a blown tire and I need help getting back to downtown Las Vegas, but I don't have the money to even pay for it. I don't have the money to get a tow truck out here and to get that new tire. I called my friend Mike. And Mike and I are very close. We're best friends, as a matter of fact, but I still felt deeply ashamed that I had to share with him that I don't even have enough money to cover this tire. I don't have enough money for a tow, and I need him to drive down the Strip. I need him to get down on the highway, find me on the shoulder, or give me a ride back. It was a mess. It was a disaster. And even though he was my best friend, and still is my best friend, I felt so ashamed by asking for help. And what do you think that other people feel when they're trying to ask for help, maybe for depression or alcoholism or anxiety or trauma? If it's so hard to ask to get a ride back and fix a blown tire, how hard do you think it is for folks out there who have been through deeply traumatic experiences? It's very hard. It's very difficult. And I can't even relate 1/100th as much with my blown tire. But I thought I would share this story because there are so many of you out there right now that have a nail in your tire. It's flat. You're not able to get anywhere. You're frustrated. You're scared. You're alone. And yet it's so scary to pick up the phone and ask for help. Now, in that moment, when I was at on the shoulder of the road in the middle of the scorching heat, I had a choice. I could sit there, sweat pouring down my face, pride swallowing me whole, or I could pick up the phone and make a call. Was I humiliated? Absolutely. But you know what? My friend got me up and running again. I could have stayed in that desert. I could have let the sun set, the rattlesnakes come out. I could have let all of the gas run out because it gets cold in the desert, when I would have needed to blast up the heat and just sit there and sulk and figure out a way to solve this problem without subjecting myself to the humiliation of the fact that I only got $62 to my name and I don't got a spare. And by the way, I got a Pontiac Solstice, which might be the most humiliating part of all of it. No offense to Pontiac Solstices, but I learned the hard way that that's not really the most flattering car. But anyway, I got help because I asked for help. And I got help because I had a destination in mind. I needed to get to work. I needed to carry on with my life. I had things that I had to do. For so many of you, it might be hard. It might be really hard to actually fix that nail in your tire because you're not quite sure what your destination is. Where are you going? What's the point of this? What matters to you to the point where you are willing to swallow your pride, to where you are willing to reach out for help? Because that goal, that destination overrides any moments of shame or embarrassment you may have about asking for help. The destination is key, my friends. That's what I learned when my tire blew out. That at the end of the day, there is nothing worse than being stranded and alone without hope, not being able to get to your destination. And from that point on, I learned that asking for help will actually make you stronger, even if you have to swallow your pride and take a few hits in the moment. And it can be deeply embarrassing. It can be very scary. I learned that having a destination is so important. You have to have a goal because that goal is going to be so much bigger than any shame or embarrassment or discomfort you might feel. That goal could be a goal you have next week or next month. Could be a goal you have in 5 years to find a studio, to get a job at Dunkin' Donuts. Might be a goal of sobriety. Might be a goal to just tuck some money away or get an ID. But whatever that goal is, it has to be more important than the feelings you have of discomfort about asking for help. Asking for help takes courage, takes humility. It involves getting us out of our own heads and remembering that life is not just about the chit-chat that we convince ourselves that's so real in our mind, the chit-chat that we think other people think about us or how we think about ourselves. That's all chit-chat. That's all theater. That's all a bunch of puppets yapping up in space. What matters more is that you get to your destination and you get there for yourself and you get there for your fellow citizens who care about you being healthy, you being productive, and you being in a position where you can help them. That's what this is about. It's about a destination. I believe all of us have a nail in our tire. We all have those moments when we're stuck on the side of the road, unsure of how we're going to move forward. And in those moments, we need to remember it's okay to ask for help. Now, let's think about this for a moment, my friends. Now, a tire is a very simple thing compared to the human brain, right? A tire is rubber and air, but our brains are billions of cells, intricate networks, cells and connections that lead to emotions and thoughts. The human brain is arguably the most complicated organ in the entire universe, the most sophisticated, complicated thing in the universe. We know more about the moons of Saturn today than we do about our minds and our brains and how we actually think and why. Distant planets, other galaxies, we know those things so much more than this 3-pound structure inside of our skulls. Now, that's pretty profound if you think about it. So if I was ashamed to get help with a flat tire, nobody out there should feel ashamed about getting help with their mental health because the brain is extremely complicated. Of course, we can't figure it out all of the time. We certainly can't figure it out on our own by ourselves. There's no shame at all in healing your brains, because your brain is so complicated. It's so sophisticated. Nobody expects you to figure it out all on your own. It's just not possible. So again, if I felt embarrassed coming forward with a flat tire, you sure as heck shouldn't feel embarrassed about needing a little help with the most sophisticated, complicated organ in the universe. Of course you need help. I need help. We all need help to make our minds run smoother. Now, we live in a society that values independence and self-reliance. Change your own tire, fix your own brain, suck it up, do better, work harder. There's some truth in that, but that's also a very lazy justification to not look at this issue more deeply. You see, we were not meant to be totally independent or self-reliant. We just weren't meant to do that. We were wired to connect with other people, to get help from other people. We were wired for other people to feel for us, and for us to feel for other people. We're social beings. We thrive when we are able to lean on each other. Just think about it. When a baby's born, the baby can't walk. She can't talk. She can't feed herself or dress herself. She relies entirely on the care and support of others. As that baby grows, babies learn to do things on their own, but that doesn't mean we stop needing help. There is not a moment in our human development where help is thrown out the window. From those first critical days, we learn right away from watching a baby for more than 2 minutes, for more than 2 seconds, that we were put on this earth to lean on each other, to get help from each other, to be empowered and guided and propped up by each other. We see that so early and so obviously in very young babies, and it really never stops. Because with each year we get wiser, and we have to lean on the folks who are really wise, who can guide us through some tough times. Now, I've seen this time and time again, folks, where people will get a flat tire in life. Maybe it's a setback at work, a personal loss, mental health challenge of some kind. And instead of asking for help, they go ahead and slash their 3 other tires. They drink more. They sabotage themselves. They say, well, what's the point? I gained 5 pounds. I'll never lose weight. I'm going to eat 3 more Twinkies and a zebra cake. Because hell, there's no chance I'll ever be skinny and have washboard abs. So I'm going to go ahead and just slash those other 3 tires and be fat. I'd rather be fat than try really hard and be fat anyway. Folks, that's a problem, and it makes things worse. And so we have to remember, when we get a flat tire, when there's a nail in our tire, don't slash those other 3 tires, because that's not going to make you get any closer to your destination. It's going to be even harder. It's going to make our struggles that much worse. It's going to make us feel defeated and wrong. Now, my friends, there are 3 reasons that we should ask for help when we feel comfortable in doing so. The first one I discussed already. We were born to need help. From cradle to grave, we need each other. Take a look around you right now. Look at one of those skyscrapers in downtown Los Angeles. Look at a washer or a dryer, a toaster. Look at a stop sign. None of those things were built by one person. None of them. It involved thousands of people all cooperating with each other to get something done, even as simple as a toaster. We absolutely need each other. Martin Luther King said something to the effect of, by the time you're done eating breakfast, you are already dependent on half of the world. I believe that. From the clothes that we wear to the beans in our coffee, this world works in really intricate ways, and we all help each other. That's part of this world, help and cooperation and participation. So the next time you feel like you need help, remember that that's why we're here. There are people who want to help you. There are people whose purpose in life is to cooperate and socialize with you and learn from some of your struggles so that they can be better, so that you can impart some wisdom to them and some strength to them. They need you. They need you to be vulnerable so that they don't feel as alone when they're vulnerable. The second reason we should ask for help when we need it is that life is a jigsaw puzzle, and we each have one piece of that puzzle. And none of us can complete the picture unless we connect with each other. By asking for help, we allow others to contribute those pieces. Now, I've shared with many of you that I'm a volunteer on Skid Row. I thought, when I first started, that I was going to help a lot of people with their mental health, and I think I am, and I'm happy I'm doing so, but I'd be lying if I said it was a one-way street. So many people are helping me. I'm learning so much about addiction and discipline and relapse and depression and trauma and homelessness. I've never learned more in my life by leaning on the community that live in the streets. They're helping me see the world differently. They're challenging me. They're making me a better person. And I'd like to think we're both helping each other. And so think of yourself as a jigsaw piece. You are one piece of a giant puzzle, and people need your piece to put everything together. And we need you to come forward. We need you to come forward to help other people learn what you're going through, but also to get you right. When that nail comes out of your tire, you'll be back on the road, headed towards your destination so you can serve other people. That's what we need. The third reason that we need to ask for help is that getting help is helping others. People want to feel useful, to contribute. It makes them live longer. It makes them happier. We actually know that when people serve other people, their heart rate and blood pressure get better. They live happier, longer lives. That's what some of the studies show. So you're actually going to help people by being vulnerable and allowing them to help you. And also that human connection that both of you are going to get from receiving help is so invaluable. It's just so wonderful. Now, let's be real. There are countless people out there with the flat tires screeching down the freeway of life. The noise is unbearable, but they keep on going because they're too proud or ashamed to ask for help. And what happens? What happens when they keep on screeching down the freeway? Well, their wheels start to bend. Their brakes get stressed. Their alignment gets all wonky. All because they won't pull over and change the tire. Some people don't even have a spare tire. They got no coping skills, no support system. Nobody has their back. And so they think, why even pull over at all? Why not just keep screeching down the highway? I got nothing to lose. I got nothing to lean on. Or maybe they'll pull over, but they only fix it for just a moment. They put duct tape, a quick fix like crack cocaine, on their tire. It's a solution for a moment until it's not, until it makes things worse, until that tire gets more damaged and blows out and can't get you moving one more inch on that highway. Imagine driving on a highway with a flat tire. The car's shaking, the ride is bumpy, the steering is difficult. You know you should pull over and fix it, but you're worried about looking weak or incapable. So you keep driving and you hope the problem will magically go away. But like I said, it gets worse. Eventually that damage spreads. The flat tire now affects the entire car. The brakes get worn out. And the longer you wait to address the issue, the more complicated and expensive the repair can become. The same is true in all of our lives. When we ignore problems or we try to handle everything on our own, we risk making things worse. We may start with a small issue, but it can quickly spiral out of control if we don't get help. And the key is to recognize when we have that nail in the tire and ask before things get out of hand. Let me tell you all something. Asking for help is a strength. It's funny, I've never really understood why people view it as weakness. Never understood why most people think that, because in my view, when somebody asks me for help, I genuinely look at them as someone who's so courageous and confident that they don't even care what I think, because they obviously have enough courage and confidence to ask for help, or else they wouldn't do it to begin with. So I think to myself, wow, that's a sign that this person is confident enough to be vulnerable. And, I think that's a gift. I think it's empowering. It obviously entails some fear. There is fear associated with asking for help. And so if you do ask for help, it tells all of us that you have been able to muster the courage and be vulnerable. Now, I know, folks, in the mental health field, it is not easy to do this. There are people with deep-seated shame and trauma and anxiety. And if it's not your time to come forward to, that is to be totally respected and understood, right? Because a lot of these issues can be very difficult to talk about. And please know that when you do ask for help, you are always in the driver's seat. It is always up to you what you want to share, when you want to share it, because that is your personal story. We're not talking about airing all of your past trauma, nothing like that. We're talking about just knocking on the door gently and letting someone know that you may need some kind of help, but on your terms. That takes strength, but it's incredibly empowering. When we ask for help, we acknowledge our limitations and take proactive steps to address our needs. We show that we are willing to take responsibility for our well-being and that we value our health and happiness. It is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and self-awareness. It fosters connection and community. It helps us build relationships, trust, and support. We create opportunities for us to collaborate and grow. It's a beautiful thing. I recommend that when you do ask for help, you make SMART requests. SMART is an acronym for specific. Be clear about what you need. Meaningful. Ensure the request is important and valuable to you. Action-oriented. Specify what action needs to be taken. Realistic. Make sure the request is achievable. Time-bound. Set a deadline for when you need the help. Instead of saying, I need help, be clear with what you need. For example, I need help changing my tire. I need assistance with my mental health. Meaningful. Make sure your request is important and valuable to you. It should address a genuine need or concern. I need help managing my stress because it's affecting my health and well-being. Action-oriented. I need someone to help me find a therapist, or I need a ride to the tire shop. Realistic. Can you lend me $200 to fix my tire rather than can you give me 10 grand? Time-bound. Set a deadline for when you need help. For example, I need help changing my tire today. I need to find a therapist by the end of the month. By making SMART requests, you increase the chances of getting the help you need. You make it easier for others to understand your needs, and you provide the clear direction to receive the appropriate support. My friends, it's time to pull over and take the nail out of your tire. Don't keep screeching down the freeway, damaging everything in your path. Take a moment, swallow some pride, and ask for help. You are courageous. When you are vulnerable, it opens the door for you to get assistance, to be empowered, and to get the help that you need. There are so many people out there with a nail in their tire. The world these days is spinning. We're all busy. We all have that nail in our tire. You're not alone. We all need help, and it's a beautiful thing to connect with each other and get the help you need. My friends, pull over and change your tire. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, write a nice little review on Apple would really help this podcast a lot. Join our Street Strong community. Again, email me at streetstrongpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us how you like the podcast. Tell us about your life. Maybe you could be on the show as well. That would be wonderful. So grateful for each and every one of you. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Street Strong. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with every single person you know who is struggling with homelessness. And remember that famous line from Mr. Rogers, when the day turns into night and you're way beyond my sight, I'll think of you.